Everybody, welcome to Sibo SOS. I'm Siobhan Sarna. I am here with Dr. Kenneth Brown, double board certified internal medicine physician and gastroenterologist. He is an incredible healer. He has an extraordinarily busy practice. He takes the information that he experiences every day with his patients, along with the research, like from Dr. Mark Pimentel and all of these brain trusts that he's friends with, and reads and reviews their research and then applies it in the clinic, and then often shares his experiences in the clinic with his friends who are the researchers. It's a beautiful thing. You may know his work from being the one who created Atrantil, the only clinically found supplement to impact bloating that is all natural and is a fascinating series of compounds, which we're going to talk about. The purpose of this is to educate everyone about COVID-19, and he has compiled a huge list, along with his grad student, of studies about the impact on people like us who have gut issues, along with anyone who's on the planet breathing. And we're praying for all of everybody that they continue to breathe with ease and grace and health. I think everyone needs to hear this, whether they have a gut issue or not. It's a pleasure to have you here, Dr. Brown. Thank you so much for spending some of your valuable time with us today at Sibo SOS.
Hey, Siobhan, thank you so much. I mean, first of all, thank you for taking the time to do this. Thank you for reaching out to your people, your tribe. Your team has been amazing. You guys are continually trying to do this. When we first set this up, of course, it was pre-SARS-CoV-2/COVID, and now we all had to pivot. The whole world has to pivot and change, and we're going to do that same thing. And so right before everybody got on, I had to run to the restroom really quick because I've spent all day looking at data, looking at research, doing different things. We're all changing hour by hour. And as a gastroenterologist, I feel a moral obligation to make sure that we discuss gut health and immune health, because that's where we're at right now. And I don't, this is not going to be a big, heavy, what would I say? It's normally you and I would talk my product a whole lot. I want to talk disease states. I want to talk what's going on. And I know that I'm wearing the scrubs, but that's just kind of standard for, this is what I wear to work. So, but I want to go wherever this wants to go, but I've got so much information to share, like how the ACE2 receptor that's in the lung is actually in the gut, and how over 48, or now we're learning that 48% of, I'll take that back, 30 to 48% of people contract this through their gut, and they have gastrointestinal symptoms. I'm going to blow your mind on this one. I've got studies to show, I've been reading studies, it's been crazy. I've got studies to show that we have viral shedding through your feces 5 weeks after they have viral shedding in the lungs. So why I'm so excited to talk to you is because the gut plays such a role in this pandemic, and nobody's talking about it. And this is not my opinion. This is just study after study that I have just been trying to digest. A lot of it is happening from what we've learned in China. Like now we're just starting to get some data.
Hey, Ken, can you do me a favor and just quickly, for reference, show me your screen, how you were sharing your screen before, just because I think visually it makes a big impact.
Yeah, let me do
Even
this.
if it's just for a sec, and then I'm going to get you started with the big question.
For everyone that's here, you know what, and I think I can on this one, I have this incredible graduate student who is a patient of mine, and she is a nurse. She went on to get her certified nutrition degree, and her and I collaborate all the time. Her name is Angie Cook, and I want to have a shout out to her because
Big time. Thanks.
I think she's on this right now, and she is
Hi, Angie.
she is my soldier. She is amazing. This is a list that she has compiled for me in our Mendeley account called Coronavirus, related to corona in some sort of GI thing, or related to polyphenols and different things.
What's a polyphenol before we move on? Because it's so basically important.
We're gonna get
Okay.
way into that. A polyphenol is what makes vegetables colorful, but Siobhan, the stuff that I got will blow your mind.
Bring it on.
I'm telling you. And this is, I've been obsessed with this.
You have
It's
to
so
be.
funny how you go from, oh, I've got this really good job, I've got a couple companies, to we have to save lives and everything changes. I'm trying not to furlough employees. The state of Texas, Governor Abbott, our governor, decided that we cannot do any elective procedures. I have a 95% decrease in my income, and I'm trying to keep single moms employed so that they can feed their kids. This is serious stuff. And the one thing that I want to do with Angie and my team, find a solution. I mean, if we can't just sit here and panic. And we're going to get into all of this, but what started out as a Sibo summit, everybody that has Sibo, you're at risk. Start with that. We need to fix that. Everybody else that doesn't have Sibo, we've got some really cool things. So it's a dark period that I'm going to tell you about, with how the R naught, meaning how many people are being affected, to the beds and everything. And then we're going to get into the fact that there's hope and there's research out there. And somebody like Angie helps me find this research. The problem is this with everybody listening: stressful times. I don't want to make it more stressful, but we know that if you can reduce your stress mentally, physically, any way you can do it, we know that stress affects the gut. There's the brain-gut axis. And if we can help your audience learn how to do that, then we will protect their first line of defense, which is your gut.
Okay, there it is. And so give us some practical solutions and tell us about some of the evidence. First and foremost, when I hear you say that if someone has small intestine bacterial overgrowth, which is the #1 underlying cause of IBS, and I'm going to cover a couple of definitions that half the audience already well knows, because I'm hoping to really get this to a huge audience of people who are not really overly familiar with this gut condition. If you have an issue with your gut, maybe it's, diverticulitis, it's H. pylori, it's constipation, you don't know why, whatever. What is it that we need to be doing to help us to reduce our risk of exposure? And maybe a little bit about the mechanism, about why. If so, they say, all disease begins in the gut, therefore all healing begins in the gut. But why is that gut connection so particularly important? And we don't need to get into this, but my other part of my brain is like, and why is no one talking about it? That's another conversation. But tell me why we're.
Oh, I shouldn't be touching my face. Sorry. Every time I get on a Zoom call, I realize how much I touch my face.
Sit on my hands. Sit on your hands. No, seriously, sit on your hands, literally.
All of those questions are right up there with what is the meaning of life? Why are we here?
Yeah.
Because what you're actually describing are very complex questions.
Do your best.
All right. Let's see where we go here.
Bring it on.
Well, I'm going to start with this, that we now realize that 30 to 48% of people diagnosed with COVID-19 have gastrointestinal symptoms. This is something fairly new that we did not realize. And now China is publishing data that says that. Here's something really scary. Those that present with gastrointestinal symptoms, 28% being diarrhea, they have a worse outcome. So we know that the gut, if you contract this virus through your gut, you have a higher likelihood of having a bad outcome. Now, what I'm going to get into is some serious stuff. So anybody that's watching this, Text your friends, get them on this, because what I'm talking about is cutting edge stuff. I've spent the last 2 days reading pre-publication research because my graduate student is able to find things that nobody else can find. So what I'm talking about is all backed by science. It's all backed by studies. And anybody that's on this call, share it with your friends, get out there, get on this Facebook Live, do whatever you're going to do, because this is nuts. I am so passionate about this that I feel like my real, everything that we've done has led up to this, where I feel like we can change things.
Okay.
So,
bring it on in terms of everyone's wanting to know, how could we get it more easily than somebody else?
yes. So as it turns out, the researchers, and I'm sorry, I get so excited that I'm kicking the table underneath me. You know?
It's fine.
I've got ADD and I just like kick when I get excited. That's why the camera's shaking. It appears that the virus binds to what is called an ACE2 receptor. ACE2 receptors are predominantly in the lung, stomach, and duodenum are the most common places where these are on the cells. So if the ACE2 receptor is there, and if the virus is taken in orally, then it will bind to the ACE2 receptor. If you happen to have underlying conditions like hypercholesterolemia, or you have high cholesterol, you will have more ACE receptors, because as it turns out, they get upregulated with two things: high blood pressure and high cholesterol. The high cholesterol is something nobody's talking about, because we found an article that talked about lipid rafts. And what that means is that the virus, when it binds to the ACE2 receptor, has to be taken into the cell so that it can replicate. Those people that have these comorbid conditions, meaning that if you have underlying diseases like hypertension, hyperlipidemia, and diabetes, you are more likely to get infected because it's easy to get there. As it turns out, the stomach and duodenum have equal amount of, or at least we think, ACE receptors as the lung. So people have completely forgotten that the gut is there. Now, the reason why I am a really aggressive treating my Sibo patients and warning them about this, washing hands, careful about eating out, all these other things, is because we know that Sibo actually will produce a protein called, or a protein, it is a protein called zonulin, which will create leaky gut. So if you have intestinal permeability and leaky gut, that will allow easier entrance of this virus. In addition to that, what will happen is that your immune system gets turned on. When your immune system gets turned on, it's fighting Sibo, which allows the virus to come in the back door. So that's why it's so relevant that you're doing this particular thing. And we talked about trying to incorporate this. Not only is it so easy to incorporate, it's completely relevant, absolutely relevant that we discuss this. Your gut is your first line of defense. You're always taking in the outside environment. And as you take in the outside environment, then you have to be able to defend it. And if your gut is already compromised, I'm worried about my Sibo people, I'm worried about my IBD people, and I'm worried about all these things. So
what are some of the things that we can do? Maybe some people have some like Alimed at home, which is the garlic allicin extract that is, a lot of people I think have some DIY herbs at home that they can, maybe pull out and start treating their Sibo. Does that make you more vulnerable? What about die-off? What is it in polyphenols, which you could define for me, please? How is that impacting people who are trying to fight the virus, which is everybody?
Before we end this, I will give you my gastroenterologist take on what supplements to do for this.
Great.
Before we get there, though,
Yeah.
I'm a nerd,
Do it.
I have to geek out first. Okay.
Geek to your heart's content, my friend.
Okay. So knowing that your first line of defense is your gut. So let's talk about something that is really important that everybody has called, you need to take in zinc. Zinc is a mineral that is really important for your immunity. What people don't understand is when you take in oral zinc, we know that zinc lozenges and things like that have antiviral activity. Nobody's really talking about why. Well, let's talk about why really quick. As it turns out, zinc has to be absorbed into the cell. Once it's absorbed into the cell, it becomes intracellular zinc. Taking zinc doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it in the cell. To get it in the cell, you need something called an ionophore. An ionophore is a vessel that allows something to get through. So the cell is impermeable to standard zinc. It needs something to help it, which in cellular physiology is very, very common because you always need some transporter to get it in. Now, let's shift gears and talk about polyphenols. Polyphenols are these complex, beautiful molecules that make vegetables colorful. It's what makes fruits and vegetables colorful. It is the most prominent thing in the Mediterranean diet. So that being said, holy cow, I found a study that shows that polyphenols work as an ionophore, meaning they drive zinc into the cell. So then you go, well, what does that do? Then I found another study. I have to tell you, Siobhan, I've been spending, well, because my practice is closed right now, I've been spending a lot of time. I'm trying to do telemedicine. I do telemedicine now. So now it's ramping up. So now I've been in front of a computer all day long. Shout out to every IT person, every person that sits in front of a computer. You guys are soldiers. This stinks. For an ADD person that has energy, I can't sit in front of a computer all day, and that's all I've been doing because I'm doing telemedicine and researching, and I'm obsessed with it. What zinc does when it's intracellular, so it turns off the RNA polymerase enzyme in SARS-CoV-2. And so just to clarify for everybody, because this is going to end up being a total, it's impossible not to make this just a total COVID type thing. COVID is the disease. COVID-19 is the disease. SARS-CoV-2 is the virus. Corona is the family of virus. I believe that one of the problems from the very beginning was the media described it as the coronavirus. They did not differentiate that it was a novel coronavirus. What that means is corona is the family. SARS-CoV-2, SARS-CoV-2 is this new super virulent virus. It is 1,000 times more infective than SARS 2003. And the way that people are dying is, one, the way that the influenza kills us, which is it attacks the lungs, and two, it has a similar effect as the Spanish flu of 1918, which creates a cytokine storm. This is no joke. So I'm extremely passionate about this right now. I'm going to make sure that that all of this everyone is informed. So SARS-CoV-2, when I say that, we're talking about the virus. When I say COVID-19, that's after you've been infected. Very similar when it was HIV or AIDS.
Got it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what we know is that when zinc is in the cell, if the virus can get into the cell, zinc blocks the enzyme that allows it to reproduce, or it allows it. So the virus gets in the cell and it goes into the ribosome, which is where the cell does this. And then it tells the cell, it hijacks the cell. As far as a parasite, it is the most fantastic parasite. This particular virus takes over your cells. That's what ends up happening. So, long-winded explanation of why you need intracellular zinc. One way to get it is to eat polyphenols. Have a colorful plate, very colorful plate. We know that the molecules in Atrantil are polyphenols, but I don't really want to talk about that. I want to talk about how to prevent getting this, how to make sure that you protect your immune system. And so I hope you don't mind that we're going to get a little off topic of Sibo. We're going to talk a lot.
Oh my gosh,
of this.
no, this is a holistic conversation,
Okay, cool.
Please do. This is holistic, okay? We're mind, we're body, we're spirit, we're gut, we're lungs, we're everything. Let's say we were to take a supplement of zinc, because I know a lot of people have little bottles of zinc at home and they have like the Colby's lozenges and that kind of thing. Is there a particular form, if they were doing it in isolation, that would help?
Wow. I am not an expert in that. I know that I did Chang Ron's summit yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think they had multiple experts discussing the difference of zinc gluconate, zinc glycinate, whatever. And I will just say that it's my bandwidth is only so big. And
no, I don't
really
expect
kind of
you to know everything. Oh my gosh, no. I'm just wondering. But we'll move on because, if it's a polyphenol, if it's your veggies, I think, yes, you can, like vitamin C in high doses is amazing. Vitamin C in an orange, I've always been told, is more bioavailable. So, but you can't eat 100 oranges. So just something to think about, getting it from a food source.
Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah. So, I mean, the short of it is, in case everybody has something to do, and this was repeated by the experts on Chang's panel as well. What I'm doing and what I'm telling my patients to do: vitamin C, vitamin D, melatonin, N-acetylcysteine, Atrantil for gut health. And let me check my notes real quick.
What do you think about quercetin?
Oh my. So the thing about that is quercetin has been studied a whole lot. Quercetin is a polyphenol that is the one. So quercetin, luteolin, and turmeric are polyphenols that get studied all the time. They get studied all the time because they've already been studied. The thing about it is that I've got data to show that the proanthocyanidins, which is large polyphenols, they all have similar antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal effect. I mean, you're going to have to prevent me from geeking out completely, but we can get into all of this. I've got study after study after study that I've been diving deep because I had no idea how much that our Asian scientists, our people in China, our people in Japan, after the SARS 2003 outbreak, it became an obsession of theirs to look at. They're much more open to natural treatments. Siobhan, it's crazy. I think we're sitting on something that we can help naturally. We don't need to just run immediately to trying to find like hardcore drugs and stuff. I think we can actually mitigate this with diet and a few supplements. So yes, quercetin has been studied. Quercetin has been studied in the binding of the virus. They have shown that it is effective in preventing the binding. It has been shown that it is protective in driving the zinc into the cell. So what you're saying is, it's like saying quercetin, lemon versus orange when we talk polyphenols. They're citrus foods.
Okay, got it.
So they're complex, beautiful molecules. I was on a Zoom call with I know. I washed my hands right before. I peed right before we did this. So I washed my hands for 20 seconds. I said the alphabet twice. So, The biggest thing is when we're talking to everyone that's watching this, we need to have a healthy diet and we need to make sure it's a very colorful plate. Now, one of the problems with Sibo people is that I have found that many of them take out some of these amazing foods out of their diet. And if you're doing that, if you're on a FODMAP diet, if you're on an SCD diet, if you're on an elemental diet, you need to feed your microbiome. You need to make sure that you can fight this thing. Those are the people that I worry about. I was thinking about it, and I talked to some Crohn's patients and ulcerative colitis patients. And then I started thinking, the people I'm most worried about are my Sibo people, because they're so limited in their diet and they're very obsessed about trying to control that. So we need to make sure that gets expanded.
Absolutely. Okay, one more time from the top, the alphabet of the supplements and the vitamins that you've been talking about.
Yeah, you're just going to the end of the book. You're the kind of person that just.
Well, that is because well, we only have so much time, and that's what I do on TV. I'm like, okay, we have 35 seconds.
So my gastroenterology recommendations based on science, and if your readers want references, we will certainly do this. All right. So first of all, I'm a fan of fermented foods. As it turns out, if there is a Lactobacillus plantarum or a Bifidobacterium, then it has been shown to be protective there. So probiotics in the SIBO population, I try and steer people away. I know that maybe the fermented foods, but I'm going to ask you to start doing some sauerkraut. If you look at the data right now, Germany has one of the lowest death rates from COVID-19. Why? I don't know. Is it the beer? Is it the sauerkraut? Who knows? But we're going to learn all this as a world. For the first time ever, the world is collaborating. People are putting science out minute by minute. Every time I wake up, I end up with 100 new articles I need to deal. Zinc. If you are low, your immune cells will not function as well. So we need to get it intracellular. So take a polyphenol. My suggestion is a polyphenol supplement that will block can actually drive it intracellular. This will block the enzyme that allows the virus to replicate. This has been shown in multiple studies. My recommendation is 25 milligrams a day. If you take too much, then you can deplete your copper, and a few other things can actually happen. Vitamin C, everybody's talking about this. It's an essential micronutrient that will work as an antioxidant. Studies in humans are conflicting. So what you'll see is experts talk about how in this study it did this, but what I want to talk about is the in vitro study. They have shown that it actually blocks and it downregulates NRLP, which is an inflammasome. So an inflammasome turns on your cytokine storm. So I'm having all my patients take vitamin C. So my rationale to the human studies is that they did knockout mice in one study, and they showed that those mice that genetically could not produce vitamin C, when they inoculated the mice with influenza virus, all the ones that did not have the ability to produce vitamin C had horrible outcomes and died. Those that did had decreased inflammation and decreased inflammatory cytokines. So there is no joke if most doctors are saying, well, the evidence is kind of, out there. I'm looking at if there's a mechanism of action and the harm is very low, do it. So zinc, fermented foods, vitamin C, vitamin D. All right, so vitamin D is another one. In a systematic review, vitamin D appeared to protect individuals from acute respiratory infections. Vitamin D is expressed on all immune cells, B and T cells, and it can modulate the innate and adaptive immune responses. Low levels are associated with increased autoimmunity and increased infection rates. So no brainer here, vitamin D, super important, and at least 1,000 milligrams a day. On Chang's report, yesterday, a lot of these functional medicine doctors were talking more than that. And then I'm trying to encourage my patients to eat a diet high in phytosterols. And this is super wild. Phytosterols are plant molecules that look a lot like cholesterol. And there may be some evidence that it will tie up the lipid raft at the ACE2 receptor. So when the virus comes in, this is evidence has been shown in vitro. These are not human clinical trials. The problem that we're running into right now, Siobhan, is that this is a novel coronavirus. This is something that has never hit us since the 1918 flu. And we're dealing with this hour by hour, and people are gathering data. And some researchers have shown that if you eat a lot of legumes, some grains, fruits, and veggies, we keep getting back to the same thing, fruits and veggies. So the fruits and veggies may plug the ACE2 receptor so that the virus has no place to attach. Recurring theme here: healthy diet, healthy gut, healthy protection. And then N-acetylcysteine. So N-acetylcysteine has some mucolytic properties. In a meta-analysis in 2017, they found that treating patients with N-acetylcysteine led to shorter duration stays in the ICU with ARDS patients. So patients that have severe acute respiratory disease in their lungs. And right now, Chinese hospitals are using N-acetylcysteine as a standard protocol for this. I like it a lot because what it does is it increases glutathione levels. The glutathione levels actually prevent, it's a potent antioxidant, so it prevents the cytokine storm. So N-acetylcysteine. So where are we at here? Just so that everybody's, I'm such a nerd. All right. Fermented foods, zinc, vitamin C, reasons above, vitamin D, a diet with a lot of fruits and vegetables, nuts, N-acetylcysteine, and then two more things. Melatonin. It's a potent antioxidant, but those researchers that are going, why don't kids have a bad outcome from this? Why are kids spared? One of the theories is that kids have a much higher melatonin level naturally than older adults. So I looked deeper into this. As it turns out, melatonin also blocks this NLRP3 inflammasome. So kids 1 to 5 have huge levels of melatonin, and it may be that melatonin blocks the cytokine storm. So take melatonin. And then the final thing, which nobody seems to be talking about, is something called sulforaphane. Do you know what that is, Siobhan?
I do not. I don't.
You don't?
I don't know what sulforaphane. I can't even say it.
Sulforaphane. This is my new favorite thing. Rhonda Patrick, who's a PhD that I follow occasionally, she did a lot of research on this. Cruciferous vegetables in the sprout form, not in the big plant form, in the sprout form, have super high levels of a molecule called sulforaphane. Sulforaphane, yeah, sulforaphane turns on a pathway called the NRF2 pathway. Don't have to remember that. All you have to remember is this, that the NRF2 pathway is a potent modulator of inflammation and anti-cancer. It also crosses the blood-brain barrier to decrease neuroinflammation. So I was listening to a lecture by a Johns Hopkins professor. It was discovered by Johns Hopkins in 1992. This group of doctors, they figured this out, and then they discovered the NRF2 pathway, and then all of a sudden he started talking about the antimicrobial effects of sulforaphane. So I've been using it in my Sibo people.
Really?
Atrantil plus sulforaphane. Yeah, a product called Brock Elite. I've met with their scientists. I've met with their CEO. Super cool stuff. And once again, it all comes down to science. I just want to make sure that I'm willing to try a whole lot of things on people, on myself. Everything gets tried on myself first, by the way. So in case anybody's wondering, I'm on all this. My patients are on all this. My family's on this. And hopefully we are being protected here. But so that's my magic combo. So one last time, fermented foods, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, a diet high in phytosterols, which are nuts and healthy foods. Just eat healthy. It's basically what I'm saying. And acetylcysteine, melatonin, and of course, pages and pages and pages on the effects of how polyphenols affect this particular thing. If you do not have a healthy gut, you will be at risk. So that's my thing. So the polyphenols, you can get in a lot of different ways, eat a lot of food, but we know that the molecules in atrantil, so I'm having, holy cow, Siobhan, we had this crazy meeting today. I don't know where you want me to go with this.
I have a couple of questions before we move on. So sulforaphane, that's like the whole broccoli seed thing that is that correct or wrong?
No, it's wrong. So
okay. What is it?
What it is that sulforaphane is a molecule that is produced when you masticate or when you crush the broccoli sprout. An enzyme called myrosinase comes in and converts glucuronidase into sulforaphane.
Cool.
So up until just now, like just recently, there's a ton of broccoli sprout products. Johns Hopkins did a whole study where none of them had sulforaphane. A few of them have put glucuronidase with the enzyme myrosinase to hope that it happens, but then they realize that it's not actually happening. So I was so excited when I was contacted by the CEO of this company, Broccolite, and he's like, we've got data. And I'm like, get me on with your scientists. So I did a Zoom just like this, and I was on with it. You know what? I got a bottle here someplace. Hold on.
Yeah, how do you spell it? Where can I get it? You know, the whole bit. There it is. Okay.
It's this. And this, I have no vested interest in these people. Oh,
it's elite, like.
Yeah, Brock Elite. Anyways, so the reason why he contacted me is because his scientists discovered that our polyphenols help their product get better absorbed.
Nice. Okay. What? Okay, listen, we need to know what a polyphenol is. And then for people who have not heard you before, I want you to do a 2-minute version of how you created atrantil, because this is so important. And I know a lot of people don't know that story, but what's a polyphenol? Because this is what is in wine. This is what creates colorful in colors in food, right? So expand on that if you would.
Polyphenols are molecules in nature that are natural. They are the molecules that make vegetables and fruits colorful. They are the molecules that are predominant in the Mediterranean diet. The science of polyphenols is just now getting off the ground. We now realize that polyphenols are these large, beautiful molecules that our own microbiome breaks down into something called postbiotics. Postbiotics are the anti-inflammatory, anti-aging molecules that the Mediterranean diet is. We have been ignoring this. So the reason why the 3 ingredients in atrantil are quebracho, which is a very large polyphenol called a proanthocyanidin, horse chestnut, which is also a polyphenol, and peppermint. Well, horse chestnut has some saponin components to it, and there's reasons why I would discuss that. And then peppermint, which is not peppermint oil, peppermint leaf, because when you get the oil, you're taking a lot of these natural polyphenols out. So polyphenols are something that the reason why vegetables are healthy for you.
Okay, that sums it up. That's perfect. That's
The
perfect.
most important thing. Yeah.
And think about, if we're talking about color, chlorophyll is what makes plants green. Chlorophyll is so similar to human blood. This is what we're talking about here. Why do you eat the rainbow? All of that.
Mm,
Right?
that's so great. Chang Ron actually said that yesterday. He wrote a whole blog of just to eat a rainbow every day and you're going to be healthy.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a huge fan of veggies, and it's hard if you have SIBO. Don't get me wrong. I just submitted
So
my.
I've gotten it. Okay, so let's shift gears really quick and talk
Yeah.
about SIBO really quick, because if you have
Okay.
SIBO people, so what I'm shifting to right now is I'm telling my patients, I'm like, I feel like we're doing a disservice by you eating this FODMAP diet. It makes you feel better, but we're not increasing your microbial diversity. So Eric and I, and you know Eric well, Eric and I have a podcast called the Gut Check Project. We did a whole show on short chain fatty acids. And we did it specifically on how, if you have a narrow diversity, you can produce more acetate and propionate and lactate, which increases blood-brain permeability. So now all of a sudden we're starting to put the science to the symptoms. When patients come and see me and they're like, I got really sick 5 years ago, and every time I eat, I bloat. But more importantly, I have foggy brain. I'm anxious now. I've got these panic attacks. I can tell them, I believe that you have increased your lactate production due to a lack of microbial diversity. So then we have to have this hard conversation. I'm going to ask you to be bloated for a little bit. We're going to treat you for we're going to treat you for SIBO, but we're going to put your ego on the shelf, and we're going to try and get your microbial diversity broader so that you can start producing different short chain fatty acids like butyrate, which has been shown to heal the gut, which has been shown to close these intestinal barriers, stop leaky gut, stop leaky brain. So I'm telling a lot of my patients now, I know, and now 6 months, 7 months later, they're like, this is the best I felt. Like, I was miserable, and I played the game of FODMAP, SCD, and I'll play it while we're trying to treat. But at some point, I'm like, we're doing more harm long term by trying to treat your bloating than we are with trying to treat your total body.
So several things. I got so exhausted from being on a restricted diet, and especially as a vegetarian, because I'm still a vegetarian happily, but I just was like, screw it, I'm going to be bloated. And then I did start to feel better, but there is a time and a place for it. If you're, going on vacation, maybe you don't feel like bloating. If you want to just like, you've had a flare, you want to bring that flare down. These are just my experiences and observations. And then the other thing is that everything you just said is so exciting to me, because if we do look at food as medicine, then you're going to maybe have a little bit of a side effect here and there that's actually a good thing, because the bloating could be a side effect of the medicine you're taking, which is eating good rainbow food.
So I had a plant-based doctor on my show. His name is Dr. Doug Wan, super brilliant guy. And we discussed that. And he said, I've been trying to integrate this with my patients, but the problem that we as humans do, especially people that are trying to take control of their lives, and I'm I am the example of an extremist. If I decide to do something, it is way overboard. And I just want everybody to realize, hey, you can do this. So like right now, Siobhan, I've been doing, after I watched a couple, I'm embarrassed to say, but after I watched a few Netflix specials, I am slowly going to a whole food plant-based diet. I'm from Nebraska. My dad was a butcher. Do you understand what this is?
I do understand.
This is a big deal. And so I have decided to make sure that I have a whole food plant-based dinner.
Good for you.
And then I'm slowly realizing I don't particularly miss meat. But when I went like all out, like the first thing I did is when I watched one of these shows, I went all out vegan and I got all the meat substitutes and stuff. I felt miserable. I felt horrible. And then I realized that they have all these fillers and they use
the meat substitutes are really tricky.
Yeah,
They're not based on whole food.
Yeah, so
I get it.
whole food, plant-based, and that's what Dr. Wan told me. You know, he's like, yeah, he goes, ease into it. Just ease into it. Let your body adapt to it
Yeah.
because you're gonna sit there and do this. And so you can take a look at that. It's a great interview. This is like super smart people. The one thing that's happening that I'm out there in the community is that I'm just meeting crazy smart people. I'm like, how are you not more out there, you know?
Exactly. I talk about that all the time because I say when I bring people onto the summit or the docu-series, it's like this person does not have a social media following because they're in the lab all day, people,
Yes.
okay? That they're nerd alert in the lab trying to figure this out, and they need people like me and several other, bloggers and
You
writers
know what?
to get
You're
the word out.
100% right. And I want to thank you for doing that. I want to
Oh,
thank you for contacting me and doing this for your people in your tribe, because you're exactly right. I'm right there. I've got, oh my gosh, I just idea on idea on idea here. And we haven't even gotten into polyphenol and COVID yet because,
okay, let's do that because we're going to start running out of time. And I also want to ask you about CBD because other
oh yeah,
people are asking about CBD, which I know you also are a huge proponent of,
huge
to
proponent.
help positive effects or possibly preventing COVID. Let's start with the polyphenols and then let's get into the CBD, and let's take about 5 minutes to do this.
All right. So 5 minutes. I'm going to freak you out here. As it turns out, the polyphenols have been really looked at, and this is not, I'm just going to say the titles of the studies that I've been looking at because it would take 3 hours to get through them. But essentially, I already talked about how the polyphenols drive zinc into the cells, how zinc blocks the mRNA polymerase that the virus uses to replicate. So, number one, step one, you're going to block that. Number two, bioflavonoids. These are article titles. Bioflavonoids displaying SARS-CoV inhibition. This article looks specifically at how these bioflavonoids, which are polyphenols, actually help with that. Number three, overview of severe acute respiratory syndrome protease inhibitors. What is a protease inhibitor? This is what President Trump was talking about what they're trying to fund. Protease inhibitors are the anti-HIV drugs. And now we realize that they can probably stop SARS-CoV-2. And this article looked specifically at how powerful these polyphenols are as protease inhibitors. Another article, identification of polyphenols as a novel chemical inhibitor of the SARS coronavirus helicase, showing how it's blocking that. Small molecules targeting severe acute respiratory human coronavirus. Compounds like acin. What is acin? It's horse chestnut. Yeah.
Whoa.
These people are doing my
Whoa.
research for me. I'm geeking out, and I'm going to explain what we're going to do here. Remind me before we get to the CBD, because once I get on CBD, I'll talk for 2 hours. Identification of potent COVID-19 main protease inhibitors from natural polyphenols. An in silico strategy unveils a hope against the novel coronavirus. These guys looked and they showed that polyphenols block the coronavirus more than the HIV drug nalfenadine. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I'm dealing with right now. Like, this is, I got done. This is all today. Angie sent me this today. I've got 300 articles. I got off with my team at Atrantil, and I'm like, we normally do, we practice very regimented business meetings, especially now that we're on Zoom. And I just hijacked it. I said, he's like, what do you have going on? I said, I fear that we need to help all of our healthcare workers. We need to do our part. So my team has agreed that we're going to try, and no, we're not going to try. We're going to give Atrantil as a prophylactic measure to every healthcare worker in my hospital. It's going to absolutely take us to the brink of bankruptcy like everybody else is, but we have a moral obligation to do this. And I was thrilled that everybody on my team agreed. They're like, yeah, we need to do this. So Eric Rieger, who you know, and I are trying to set up a plan to figure out how to get free Atrantil to healthcare workers. I can show you how it blocks the virus. I can show you how it prevents it from replicating. I can show you how it helps with ARDS, polyphenols. You can not take Atrantil and just eat a really great diet and probably do the same thing. But for my healthcare workers that are working night shift, my nurses in the ICU, my ER doctors, my anesthesiologists who are intubating people, we're trying to develop a whole new business plan to just hand the stuff to them. If they want to do it, they can do it. If they can't, that's fine. But I'm so excited. This happened, I don't know, 30 minutes before we got on this Zoom. I am so pumped about this, that if we can make a difference.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh is right.
Thank you so much.
Geeking out about this.
What you guys don't know, just real quick, what you don't know is that I've been working with Ken's marketing team for years, and they had a little pivot. New team members came on board who I happen to know from other situations, and they have put together the lowest price in the marketplace for us for Atrantil. That was going to be like, you guys were getting the first dibs on it, and just perfect timing. This was, you know, obviously, I call it kismet, God, whatever you want to call it. Divine intervention. I'm super spiritual, so that's the way I roll. But we will tell you about that. This is obviously not a huge like conspiracy theory to get you to get into Atrantil. It's just like, hey, I think an alignment has happened. So anyway, it
is a huge problem for me to sit here and look at this. And I've been talking, and this is why I was so excited with my team to say, I'm like, I believe so strongly in this, we have to give it away. We have to give it away to my healthcare workers at my hospital. We can't give it away to everybody, and because you're helping out, you're doing this. This is not a sell. If you don't want this, quercetin, luteolin, turmeric, these are all other polyphenols out there. The issue is that I want to send, I will send ours to one of these researchers and say, analyze this, tell me what the antiviral activity is compared to these other things. And if quercetin is better, or if hesperidone is better, they're all similar, then that would be the one that I would say, hey, do this if you've got these issues. This is not, I just don't want to come off as selly. I want to just talk science. That's my thing.
Totally fine. That's what I'm here for, is to help people get the information they need, and everyone can be smart and make their own decisions. A couple of things. Yeah. If you have a lower esophageal sphincter issues, GERD, whatever, and you can't do peppermint oil, is the peppermint leaf typically found to be more easily consumed without side effects?
That is a great question. And yes, usually because the capsule gets released in the duodenum, which is where we want it to go for Sibo people. Some people have complained of a little bit of reflux. I'm hearing a lot less of that. Okay. Because a lot of this is they read about the peppermint, they can't take the oils in other forms, and then they see that it's there. Right. We chose the leaf because it has to be digested first before the oil is actually even in effect. So, and I don't even care about the peppermint from the other reasons why, the antispasmodic. I need those polyphenols. I need that leaf to get to your small bowel. Now, getting back to CBD.
Okay, wait, before you do that, they want to know, are you going to run out? They're freaking out because a lot of people are already regulars with Atrantil.
Yeah.
And are you going to run out? One. Number two, what if you have the Sibo that is more diarrhea hydrogen dominant? Can Atrantil help them? Because I know a lot of people are new, but I know I also have a lot of people that are very familiar with your work in this and Atrantil, and it's typically for people with methane dominant Sibo. Doesn't help people with diarrhea or hydrogen dominant.
So typically is interesting because my research was to try and find a solution for people that had no solution. So when I was working with Dr. Pimentel and we were developing Xifaxan, I was in those studies. So yeah, for people that haven't heard, really quick, I've been doing clinical research for many years, and I was the leading enrolling site for the original Xifaxan study that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. So Mark Pimentel and I were talking about, he had animal models, and I was just so fascinated by that. And then he said one day that we will never help the bloated, constipated person. I asked why. He said it's because it's due to a bacteria called Archaeobacter that produces methane. I went, wow. And I wrote methane on the board. And then my research manager, Brandy, came in and she's like, why do you have methane there? I'm like, crazy. I just got off the phone with Dr. Pimentel. This is what it is. And she was working prior to joining me. She was helping a senator in Iowa that they were trying to mandate that all the farmers in Nebraska and Iowa put something in the cattle feed to decrease methane. And that's when we started looking at these different products to do this. So it started out as a methane thing because that's what was missing. And since we've done that, now we realize that it's a bacteria thing, not necessarily just methane or hydrogen sulfide. So if you have diarrhea predominant, I still use a lot of Xifaxan in my diarrhea predominant. I use Xifaxan plus Atrantil and have incredible results with my patients. So I actually continue to do that. The story evolves continually because then we started learning about the polyphenols, then we started learning about the anti-aging, and it's just one of those really cool things that we developed it for one thing, and now all of a sudden I feel like we have something that can help people in this pandemic.
See, this is the way, when good people put out a lot of effort and they knew you were going to be like doing this mission, and then it all came together, and then we've been friends for so long. It's a beautiful thing. Hey, Clarissa is in the background with me here at Sibo SOS. Clarissa, can you put the link for Atrantil into the chat box for us in Zoom and pop it into the Facebook feed? That would be great. They have been working on, I've been dogging them. Guys, we need to get the lowest price in the marketplace for my community. Guys, you can get it at 15% off if you do the subscribe and save in Amazon, which is awesome, but I need a lower price. Okay, so I haven't been a show host at HSN for 20 years for nothing. Give me that lower price. So that's what they did. They have the lowest price in the country for us right now, and we will post it for you. If you want to grab it, great. If you don't, great. Thrilled either way. I just want to give this opportunity to you. Ken, we need to wrap up in a moment. Please talk to us about your passion and why it's so important right now, in particular about CBD.
Yes,
and
thank you.
This virus.
All right, so the whole thing about CBD that people don't realize is that we all have an endocannabinoid system. In 1970 or 71, the Marijuana Act was put in, or the Controlled Substance Act was pulled in, and then hemp was no longer used as a substance. Prior to that, we were eating CBD all the time. It was shown that a chicken-fed hemp whole leaf would produce about 250 milligrams of CBD in an egg. So since then, we have seen an uptick, a tremendous uptick in autoimmune disease and everything. So if anybody anybody thinks that CBD is something that's obscure, we were eating it all the time. We took it out of our diet and we've become sicker since then. So the reason why I'm super passionate about this is that your endocannabinoid system is just like your gastroenterology system, your cardiovascular system, your neurologic system. It is super important. And when you, much like Sibo, go through stress, don't sleep well, have issues, it goes out of balance. Its job is to try and keep you in balance. So CBD is super important right now because it mostly affects your immune system and your neurologic system. If you are stressed and not eating properly, not only is your gut out of balance, but your endocannabinoid system is out of balance. So what CBD does is it allows your body to produce its natural endocannabinoids to get back to balance. There's just as much science on this as the polyphenols I was talking about. And Geek Alert, the reason why I'm super into CBD is because the polyphenols allow your body to produce more of an endocannabinoid called anandamide because it blocks the enzyme that breaks it down. When you're stressed, you produce more FAAH, which is an enzyme that breaks down your own endocannabinoids. You're literally trying to fight the world with one hand tied behind your back. So that's the passion. It's all Venn diagrams that come together.
It's in a beautiful, beautiful lotus blossom.
Yes.
Somebody's asking about the shipping and handling, and one of the reasons why they've gone to Amazon, which I'm a huge fan of Amazon, to buy is because they have Amazon Prime. Free 2-day shipping, except for, I think it's Arkansas and Hawaii. Excuse me, that's Alaska, sorry, AK.
I was going to say, what did the Arkansas people do to us?
I don't know. So continental US, people are wondering about Canada. Is it available in Canada?
It is available in Canada. Yes, it is. And I'm going to overstep my bounds here. We're actually on Amazon Canada, but I want to make sure that they take advantage of your code. Yeah. So contact my team on that one. I'm sure that we've got a way to get it there.
What is the customer service email for folks to be able to ask obscure questions? Not obscure, but like super personal questions, not about their health, but about logistics.
This shows how involved I am, how involved I am in the business aspect of it. I'm super involved, but right now we're all working from home. I don't know what the email is. You're gonna have to go to you have to go to the website.
Go to the website. I'm sure there's a contact us.
There is, yeah.
I'm literally on the site right now. That's how I found out there was free 2-day shipping.
I'm pretty proud of the fact that I started this company and I can focus on the science right now because my team is doing a incredible job of running the business, doing this. And I'm so excited to find out what happens. Could you imagine, Siobhan, if we gave, and it's going to cost an arm and a leg, if we gave Atrantil to all my healthcare workers at my hospital, and I have a big hospital, and we protected them, this would be the foundation of what we're doing, because we're funneling all the people to my hospital that have COVID. So
that's amazing. Okay.
So excited.
I'm very happy about everything you're saying, except that if you have gut issues, you're more susceptible to COVID-19. Okay.
Protect your gut, protect your immune system.
Which CBD? There are so many fake versions out there from Amir.
Yeah, so that is one of the issues. So the one that I teamed up with, and the one that we have on our website at kbmdhealth.com, is I teamed up with a company called Elixinol, and they produced a specific batch just for me that we have a certificate of analysis on. And so it's certificate of analysis that shows you basically, all right, so what CBD do you want? You want to make sure that you check the boxes. You want to make sure that you get your CBD from an organic location. You want to make sure that it's naturally extracted with CO2. You want to make sure that it has a certificate of analysis, and you want to be able to make sure that the actual milligrams that are actually there. And so one of the reasons why I teamed up with them is that Consumer Labs did an analysis of this, and our CBD that we did, they actually contacted me, Elixinol, so that we could team up and do a physician grade CBD. That one of the reasons why we did this is because they could show that they check all those boxes, and Consumer Labs did a thing that they actually analyzed and showed that for price per milligram, it was the cheapest. So I had what I felt was a company that I found was the best CBD at this time for the most economical price. So that's what I'm doing. But remember, for everyone that's doing this, you have to think about it as if your endocannabinoid system is deficient in your own production of endocannabinoids. So think of it like this for everybody here. Let's do it GI wise. If you're not producing enough pancreatic enzymes to digest your food, that's the same thing as not producing enough of your own endocannabinoids. So what this does, what CBD does, is it allows the anandamide to hang out longer. Right now, this is what the science is showing. So all you're doing is getting yourself back to balance. It's not like this crazy drug or anything like that. You're doing what your body wants. When we talked about how to improve your immune system, vitamin D, vitamin C, N-acetylcysteine, blah, 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 there's all mechanism of action. That's the exact same thing that's going on with CBD. all you're doing is getting yourself back to balance.
I like it. Okay. I've got to ask you some rapid fire questions. You know, I always do this with
Do
you.
it.
So just as quick as possible with those answers. From Carlene, we love you, Carlene. Dr. Brown, can you comment on the nurse in Kansas City who only had a fever of 99.4, lost her sense of smell and taste, was tired, no typical symptoms, and there are asymptomatic young people who are COVID-19 positive and don't know it. Any ideas on how to improve that situation?
Oh my gosh, so cool. What is her name?
Carlene.
Carlene. So cool that you brought that up, because I think I forgot to bring that up. Yes, so now we're seeing that anosmia, dysgeusia, which are the medical terms for can't smell, can't taste. I know. So it's those two terms appear to precede all the symptoms. So if you end up in a situation and you can't smell for some reason, so when we were looking at data from China, and they came up with their data, our data shows in the American College of Gastroenterology, they talked about how 38% of the people had gastrointestinal symptoms, 29% had diarrhea. They excluded the anorexia people. In China, they did a study of 200 people, and that's where they came up with the conclusion that 48% of the people had GI issues. Those people did worse. Then they looked at that, 86% had anorexia. So then I took that and I looked back, and this is like a week ago before people have been talking about it. My graduate student and I looked at this. I'm like, why would they have anorexia? And then she found this whole article where an ear, nose, and throat doctor said, hey, heads up, I've diagnosed from the UK, I've diagnosed multiple COVID people, and they all presented with anosmia way before they had symptoms. So her answer, so the answer to her is yes, regardless of the fever, the anosmia could be, or the lack of smell could be, the canary in the minefield. Great question. So she's doing her reading. That's cool.
Yes, Carlene's a student for sure. She's amazing. Okay, Rachel has talked about how she knows how gut health affects overall immunity. Yet we answered your question, Rachel. That was like one of the first things we talked about. The antimicrobial herbs often used to treat Sibo, could they actually be helpful? She's thinking about Candibactin AR, which has sage, oregano, and thyme.
So sage, oregano, and thyme are polyphenols. So short answer, without looking at the data, yes. I did find some stuff specifically for you that looked, a couple studies looked at allicin from garlic, and not so much against the virus. So just that being said, a couple small studies. My encouragement is, if it's a polyphenol, take it.
Got it. Okay. About how much vitamin C should we be looking at for our guts and virus right now?
Oh, that's interesting. So when I looked at it, I was thinking 200 to 500 milligrams a day. Dr. Lundquist was on Dr. Ron's summit with me right before I was on, so I got to hear him. And he does a lot of IV infusions. Keep in mind that China right now is doing IV infusions of like 24,000 milligrams IV. So what he recommended, and I will go with him because he's done his homework on this, is 1,000 milligrams a day. The problem with taking too much is it will create diarrhea and you'll pee it out, but not taking enough. So I was erring on the side of 200 to 500 milligrams. And then he said that the body can handle thousands and thousands of milligrams. So based on, watch that was a whole COVID thing. They just brought expert in each field to discuss COVID treatment. 1,000 milligrams, I guess, split up though, because you can create a significant amount of diarrhea if it doesn't get absorbed. It works like a osmotic laxative.
That could be good for a lot of people, depending on your SIBO situation.
A lot of people do take high dose vitamin C to go to the bathroom.
Right. Yeah. What about Ramona, eating sugar, does it cancel out vitamin C? Have you ever heard of that?
Don't know. I've not heard of that before. I'm not a big fan of sugar in general. So.
Right. Do you need copper to absorb zinc?
No, but too much zinc can lower your copper.
Oh, interesting. What about, so Jen is saying that she's heard, there's a lot of that going on right now, that someone said that if they take turmeric, it can possibly increase the cytokine storm. And can you define what that is? People are throwing that term around like it's confetti.
Yeah, so cytokine storm is this. When you think of it like this, it's your body's overreaction to the invasion. So the virus comes in, a virus. Now we're talking cytokine storm with COVID-19. It can happen to anything. It can happen when you have Sibo, so to speak, that you have leaky gut and your body overreacts to the situation that leads to autoimmune disease. So that's not a cytokine storm, that's a cytokine season. Cytokine storm is when your body overreacts greatly to it and releases all these cytokines, and cytokines are released from white blood cells and T cells to try and kill it, but it's so much that it overwhelms the body and you end up having organ failure from your body essentially overreacting to it. So the cytokine storm. So the Spanish flu of 1918 was so deadly because 18 to 25-year-olds died in that one because of the cytokine storm. What makes this COVID-19 horrible is that there is a percentage of people that have the lung issue where it destroys surfactant and then they can't breathe. And then there's a percentage of people that have the cytokine storm. So what is causing it? We don't know. Now, regarding turmeric, I have not seen any scholarly articles related to that. We do know that turmeric and curcumin is a polyphenol that, generally speaking, your body does very well with. The absorption is quite poor, so it's your microbiome that breaks it down into beneficial things. I have not seen articles on that creating increased cytokine storm, but theoretically, the cytokine storm is a individual to individual thing, is what I'm thinking.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, can you take Atrantil if you have colitis?
100%. All my colitis patients are on this, and the reason is because it does help. My combo for colitis and Crohn's, Atrantil, CBD, and now I'm adding the broccoli. That's my 3 combo thing, and I can give science to it as to why I like all 3. But,
well, which is what you talked about in this session. When we're off I've got to go to my meditation class after this, but I will email you because I would love to get you get a link to the CBD so people can access it as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Email, yeah. And then maybe you can hook me up with the broccoli people as well.
Oh yeah,
totally. That'd be awesome.
They're actually the same marketing team that we're using that have helped us to help you. He actually.
I have this. They sent me a bottle.
Awesome.
Awesome. I'm so excited.
I could get into the science in that, and they've got some PhDs that he'll be mad when I say this, but when we got on their Zoom call with their PhDs, with his head scientist, you could tell it's his life, and it's the first time I'd ever heard of it. So I'm asking these just profoundly basic, redundant questions where it's just like, he's like, yes, it does this. Yes, we've shown that it gets absorbed.
Well, it would be just like somebody getting on a call with you talking about polyphenols, right? Like they discovered something brand new and they're stoked, and you're like, yes.
I know that it's real because it wasn't like, oh, you should try this. He was just like, no, we have the data.
Yeah, it's all there.
Yes, it's there. I've had this conversation 5,000 times.
Oh, I want to ask you something. See, I'm the one who's facilitating the meditation class, so that's why I have to bring up the Zoom class. I'm not the teacher. I'm just the tech support. But that's why I have to move us along for a second. Broccoli, does that contribute to hydrogen sulfide SIBO?
Ooh, have not looked at that. I'll be honest. I have not even thought about that. I do seem to have successful results combining them because it does have antimicrobial properties.
Cool.
So I will look more into that.
Cool, cool, cool. Hey, can we get a list of some of those studies?
Holy cow.
I mean,
Yes.
just shoot me.
I'll tell you what we'll do.
Okay.
Eric and I, after you and I get off here, you're going to do your meditation class, and I got about 3 more Zoom meetings to do.
Okay.
We're going to figure out how to set up a 1-page PDF for my hospital.
Okay.
The front page will be like, this is why we think this will help you. If you want to take this to protect your gut, here it is. You can, I'm going to give it to my staff. I'm going to give it to my nurses. I'm going to give it to my frontline people that are, because remember, I mean, if you're a nurse or a doctor working shift work, not getting good sleep, and you're taking care of, I mean, look at our New York doctors, our Italian doctors. These guys are our heroes, total heroes.
Anybody in the medical profession right now, thank you.
I mean, you have the guts to show up to work and be lack of sleep and tired and all this and wear masks. I've seen pictures of Korean nurses. Yes, where they're getting scars from the mask.
Oh.
You know what? They're the heroes. That's awesome. And if I can protect them, then we're going to do that. So once Eric and I come up with that, what we will do on the front page is going to be this summary, brief summary, not geeky summary like I'm doing with you. Like just, it does this, does this, does this. The back page is going to be a whole reference page. So we'll get that to you and your tribe.
Okay. Healthcare workers, what is the dosage of Atratil for healthcare workers or someone who's like really looking to boost it versus the 2-3 times a day on the bottle?
Yeah, that is a great question. And my team actually asked me that. And, we don't really know, but if I'm using logic and I'm looking at this, I think that frequency is more important than dosing. So if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to take it frequently just in case I get exposed. So one of the things I say is that I'm telling all my patients. Now, what I'm telling you is yes, opinion based on science, but also what I'm doing, what my family's doing, and what my patients are doing. So what I'm saying is now in a time where people get a little cooped up in their homes and they want to go and dabble in that takeout, the person making your food, there is a fecal oral route of getting this. So if somebody's making their food and there is a viral, and it's not saying that there has to be a huge inoculum, but we don't really understand, but possibly, certainly if you're going to eat any food that is that you're bringing in your home that you did not cook yourself, that you did not wash your hands for 20 seconds before doing it, then definitely take it. So frequency, I'm doing. So I have personally been on, 6 to 20. Well, I shouldn't even say that. That's probably irresponsible to say it, but I have been. I've taken a whole bottle at once to see if there was a toxic effect. But I've been on at least 6 tablets to 10 tablets a day now for 5 years. And I've got my blood work checked. I've done this, at least in me, it has been beneficial. So for everybody else, I would say maybe 1 tablet 3 times a day, just so that it's there. And remember that
you don't have to build up to the whole bottle. That's not what I meant, but just like to keep a baseline is what you're saying.
It's just the deal is if you get exposed, you want to hit it.
Yeah.
You don't. Oh, in fact, like vitamin D, they showed in the studies that sometimes we treat people with vitamin D with like 50,000 units once a week. That was not beneficial in preventing viral illness. Taking it daily was beneficial, which shows that it has that innate immune effect. And that's how I'm kind of viewing this also. Take it on a regular basis.
Like a drip campaign.
Yes, like a drip campaign.
Can you take Atratil and Megaspore together?
Oh, yes. My man, Kieran.
Yeah.
So in our subscription box, that's what I have. We did I interviewed Kieran Krishnan, the CEO of Megaspore, and we geeked out on the fact that Megaspore as a spore biotic uses these polyphenols to wake up when it gets to the colon, and then it sends it signaling out. So not only can you take it,
please do.
We're trying to figure out how to combine some, anyways, I won't get into that. That's a business thing, but I love the combo.
Okay. Ooh, I'm gonna make a good email, you guys. I'm gonna save you some money. It's gonna be beautiful. Okay, so we have 7 more minutes, and that's like I have totally taken you over time. So
Oh, have we gone?
we've gone an hour and 23 minutes.
Oh my God.
You could be somewhere right now.
I don't.
Okay,
don't.
thank God.
Yeah.
Shannon, what can I do while lactating and treating my SIBO?
Short, the medical legal answer is I can't recommend anything.
Okay.
Safe. That and I hate to say that, Shannon, I'm just sorry. It's just that unless something has been studied in pregnancy or in lactation, meaning that you pay to see, and one day I hope that we have enough money in Atrantil to do those studies, but it's extremely expensive. And yeah, so hopefully we will be able to tell you that we can actually do that.
Done a study on it. Okay.
Yeah.
In general, you know, Shannon, I just want to let you know that there are some, there's a Dr. Stephanie Hayes, who I interviewed for the Sibo SOS Summits. She's out of Portland, Oregon. I don't know if she does telemedicine, but she definitely is someone who I would reach out to see if she does do telemedicine now, with so many people now doing it, because she does specialize in kind of the question that you're asking.
Oh, that's cool. Stephanie Hayes is her name. I'd love to connect with her, because that is, I feel bad saying we haven't done the studies, so I can't answer, but that is essentially what I have to say.
She's the one who told me about how her observations were that when people cleared SIBO and had infertility previously, they were able to conceive.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that really quick. So when I did the original Xifaxan study, one of the reasons why that I lost a lot of patients is that Brandy and I ended up losing patients in the study because they got pregnant during it, and every single one of them had been through fertility treatment and all that. So I was upset because we lost funding because the patient had to drop out. They were thrilled. So we treated their SIBO and they got pregnant.
And when he says lost a patient, he doesn't mean they passed away.
Sorry.
He means they had to leave the study, okay?
That becomes an intention to treat analysis, which means that they are considered a failure. And in my mind, it was a win. Now, the person that developed Atrantil with me, Brandy, she took it the whole time she was breastfeeding. So if Shannon wants to talk to Brandy, she can do that. But as a doctor, I got to say, we can't recommend that.
Okay. Anonymous, why do I bring up clear mucus from my throat several times a day? I have bloating. I'm a veggie on FODMAP and IBS diets. Also, what is it and where is it that I can find a SIBO diet? Well, SIBO diet, SIBOinfo.com, SIBO specific food guide. They are created by Dr. Allison Seebecker, is my go-to. Christy Regan's books on Amazon about the SIBO diets. And then Siobhan Sarna, Random House, thank you very much, coming out next year.
Whoop, whoop.
My book, and my diet in that is based on their work and based on Dr. Seebecker's work, and is vegetarian. Because here's the deal, guys, you can always add the protein of your choice. If you're a veggie, it's much harder, as we know. Therefore, I'm like, why would I do something that is easy? Or some people have done a beautiful job with it. I don't want to reinvent their wheel. So that's what I did. So that's coming out. I know it doesn't help you right this second, but also Dr. Nirala Jacobi out of Australia, who has created the biphasic SIBO diet based on Dr. Allison Seebecker's SIBO specific guide. There is a vegetarian version of that. And you can also check out Rebecca Coombs, The Healthy Gut. She's also out of Australia and has cookbooks. And I think she has her vegetarian cookbook out now too. Okay. So what about this mucus, coughing up clear mucus from the throat several times a day?
So keep in mind that there's a couple things that could relate to that. Number one, postnasal drip. So postnasal drip, when your immune system is inflamed, your histamine goes up. And if the histamine is there, then you're going to have postnasal drip. Number two, if you have bloating, your small intestine distends, tells your stomach not to empty, which can lead to reflux, specifically nighttime reflux that you're unaware of, which can also lead to postnasal drip. Number three, if you happen to have SIBO, there's a high correlation of SIBO with mast cell destabilization, meaning that you're going to produce more histamine in your body when you eat certain foods. So all three of those things can actually lead to that. Two of them are in the gut. One of them is going to be more of an allergic type thing. So that's how I treat my people with mucus.
Okay. I know we have more questions, but we are legitimately out of time, like way over. 45 minutes just became an hour and a half. I thank you all so much for hanging out with us and going the distance. I hope that you will look for the email I'm going to send you over the next couple of days. Please, if you're not in our Facebook group yet, join us. It is a beautiful group full of support and love and intelligence and common sense, and is carefully monitored so that if someone is behaving inappropriately, the whole thing is be kind or be gone. You know, I'm very quick to be like, I don't like the vibe or the tone, bye-bye, because life is too short. Okay, I don't think that's ever been more obvious. And
that being said, really quick, because you're going to go off to a meditation thing,
yes.
the other thing, we talked about supplements, but let's talk about lifestyle.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I mean, mindfulness meditation is what I try and practice. Make sure everyone sleeps, get rid of toxic relationships. Now is the time to reevaluate and practice self-healing. So I love that you're going to go do a meditation class right now.
Well, I've been a yoga teacher for many, many years. I've been on the spiritual path since a long time. So I don't know what I would do without it. That's me. And there's so many cool Oprah and Deepak doing their meditation program for free right now. Self-Realization Fellowship, srf.org, I think. They have free online live meditations 3 times a day that you can just through Zoom go and meditate with them. And they also have a great site that teaches you how to meditate. So what is it? Is it Mindspace? I always get the name wrong. That app on the phone. There's just so many beautiful things that you can do.
Headspace.
Headspace. Thank you. Mindhead.
Oh, you want to know what? For everyone, this is, I'm a huge fan of brain.fm. That's another little life hack, brain.fm. I do that to go to sleep, and I do that when I want to focus. And so check it out.
Tell everybody what it is.
Oh, it's so cool. So it is, essentially uses something called neural phase locking, where they play music, but in the background of the music, it's set at a certain frequency. And their PhD, these are all things that I've talked to their PhDs about. And you just, once you get on, I just kind of went, like, at some point, Kevin Woods is their PhD, and I just went, okay, I get it. You're super smart. I'm just going to do what you say. What it does is they've shown through functional MRIs with this science that when a certain frequency is going in here and a certain frequency in this ear, it has to be headphones, your brain will adjust, and you can adjust it to where you need it. So if you need to go and stimulate the amygdala for emotion and calm down, if you need to stimulate the cerebrum and increase your focus, they can do that. And I do it. My kids do it. I just think it's really cool. And I do Headspace. I try and sauna, and I will do my mindfulness meditation with that. And then when I wake up in the morning, I turn on my Focus Brain FM. When I go to bed at night, I turn on my Sleep FM, and I drift off. So sleep, take care of your brain, love one another, don't hug, fist bump, elbow bump, whatever it is that you're going to do. Yeah.
We love you. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing this, Siobhan.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. All right, more from Dr. Brown in the near future. When the smoke clears, we'd love to get you on to talk about CBD and what that means to those of us who are not cool. Like, you know, like, I don't know, that's for other people. I would love to have more information about that from you. Look for an email, guys. The lowest price in the marketplace right now for Ashantil is through the links that I'll be sending you. Yes, I get a little bit of a commission from it. And you know what that does? It pays people like Clarissa, who's behind the scenes. It pays Cindy, who makes sure that the tech is going to work for Sibo SOS. It pays for Mariel, who helps me with my copy. It helps with Lisa, who makes sure that we're all doing our jobs, because if I wanted to reach as many people as I am reaching right now, I cannot professionally do it alone. I could hack at it and it would not be perceived or received as well, because it would not be as professional. even though I'm very casual at the same time. So I do have a team. I have to pay them. They deserve every single cent. And I'm also very happy to be able to employ people in this marketplace at this time and economy. So be financial, support your local restaurants with gift certificates and the like. Pre-advance, buy some massages so that your massage therapist can continue to feed her family or his family, and you get the idea. We love you. Namaste. Thanks, Dr. Brown. We'll see you all on the grid.
Bye, Siobhan. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.